Happy New Year, everyone! Welcome to 2024 and welcome to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. I'm Skratch. In today's video, I want to talk about the Vortex, guys. I want to share with you guys a couple of tips that could potentially improve your Vortex team. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of like under the misconception that you need to have the 5-man elemental affinity ASAP when you start doing the Vortex. And I feel like that's very incorrect. And I just want to kind of like to point you out in the right direction. You really need to have the 5-man elemental affinity once your psychic core is maxed, because that's when the true potential really unlocks, right? So I've unlocked the 5-man elemental affinity, but just because of this simple reason, I don't think it's necessarily a must-have thing for the Vortex, because my damage won't go crazily overboard with it or anything like that, and mechanics and pairing the right champions with each other, I feel like is way more important than this. So if you're going to look over to the next ones, you will get extra damage, right? If you're going to start maxing one of them for your elemental affinity, for the team that you're planning to build. But the real potential starts when you reach these bonuses here, okay? For example, if you look at the Frost and Radiance, this will actually be busted with the Ice Blast architecture, with the new type of damage dealers, because they will get so much damage, all the way up to 400% more damage, guys. So yes, when you have this maxed, you want to make sure you have the 5-man elemental affinity on, because you're losing a lot of damage, But till you get there, it's still quite a while, guys. You definitely have quite a while to wait, and you might not perform very well in the Vortex at the moment, because you're prioritizing the 5-man elemental affinity for no reason, okay? So this is the team that I'm running at the moment. This is for difficulty 3, guys. Once I'm going to get to difficulty 4, I'm pretty sure that this team will be able to get the job done and get me to the top chest. Now, of course, if I'm looking to compete for higher damage and stuff, I will have to adjust some of the champions, potentially look at the 5-man elemental affinity team. And it really depends what champions you have available. Now, this is not a guide on how to build the team that I'm running. It's a guide on kind of like how you should prioritize to build your own team based on the champions that you guys have available. For my case right here, I am using a couple of legendary champions, and I am using a couple of legendary artifacts as well. I got lucky, or rather said unlucky, with my summons, and I got dupes, which allow me to purchase legendary artifacts. In some cases, that's actually a lucky scenario. So this is the team that we are running. I have Gertin. She is the main damage dealer in the team. The gear that I have on her kind of sucks at the moment. Her attack is very low. Her crit damage is even lower, so I'm not expecting her to do any insane damage whatsoever. Then we have Flurbart from a completely different elemental affinity. They're not pairing with each other in this season. He does have the horn, which will actually give me a bit of extra damage on my champions. And honestly, this is kind of like the perfect artifact for Flurbart. Then we have Garius. He's the cheat code in this team, actually, because I managed to purchase the Gatekeeper staff, and my god, is like his own exclusive. Whenever he heals, he puts a shield on the team, so that actually enables my team to survive longer, So I want to have Garius in my team, like, especially for this, it's kind of like bringing in Adolphus, like, if I can remove Adolphus from the team and keep Garius in, not only that I'll be getting a bit of extra damage, but I'll be tanking and I'll be getting healing and shield at the same time, and getting my 3-man elemental affinity, which is wow, But that's only because I have access to this artifact, and without it, probably it's not the same thing, Then we have Sheena. She is the #1 enabler for Ice Blast heroes, And I got fortunate enough to summon her. I haven't managed to summon an exclusive from the season 2, but that's fine. We got Sheena. She's gonna do an amazing job. I have her on a gambler set. The gear on her really sucks, like sucks 20 times more than on the others, but I had to go for a gambler set, and I have the Witch's Remains on her for defense down. That will give me extra accuracy as well. Witch's Remains will give me a bit of extra damage compared to the Crown of the Unclean. I am kind of like working with somebody to kind of like get the numbers exactly on how big is the difference from between these two artifacts and without the artifacts as well. So probably expect to see something in the near future, kind of like to give us a better understanding of the raw numbers behind the artifacts, And Then, of course, I have Rita, which is an amazing, amazing legendary champion. I do have the Rift Hourglass, but she's not really getting any value from it on the ultimate skill because I have a cooldown on the skills. This is mainly on her for the accuracy, okay? So this is not a must in the team. It's just to have the extra accuracy while I can maintain some of the other stats, you know? So this is the team that I'm running. I have a 3-man Elemental Affinity, which is Radiance and Ice Blast at the moment. And these are the stats that I'm getting right here. Now you are getting the accuracy already from the 3-man Elemental Affinity. The 5-man will actually boost the elemental damage bonus. The main thing that I have in here is to have a lot of healing, to have a lot of support for my damage dealers. I try to bring some of the best damage dealers available on my account at the moment. I could bring in instead, for example, a Tunnel Nun and bring in an Erich and then kind of like swap up the 3-man Elemental Affinity completely. I do want to have the 3-man Elemental Affinity, preferably for my tank, and preferably for my damage dealers. So the 3-man Elemental Affinity, because that's something that will boost my damage, guys. So that will be very, very important. Now, just in case, if you guys are interested in seeing time presets, that's what I have right here. If by any chance you missed the video, but I'm actually explaining how to set your time presets for any team in any dungeon or any content whatsoever, this is actually kind of like to give you an idea. You can actually just type whatever you guys want. It's not a necessity for you to just plus or minus, you know, you can literally type and you can actually have 16.6, 16.7, etc. to really time everything perfectly. The full cycle of the Vortex is 20 seconds, so that's why I have my rotation as it is. Now, how I mentioned, it's not as important to have the 5-man Elemental Affinity. Mechanics, in my opinion, are more important. So ensuring that you have defense down consistently on the boss is more important than a 5-man Elemental Affinity. Making sure that you have a cleanser, especially when you reach difficulty 4, is going to be very, very important. And at the same time, if you can have a shield, will be a game changer too, because your team will survive longer than a regular traditional team that doesn't have a shield, just healing, you know, because the boss does tend to hit pretty hard the longer you go in the fight. And the longer you survive, of course, the more damage you will do. Now you do have the options of trying to bring in 3 damage dealers instead of bringing 3 supports, and sometimes it works better, sometimes it doesn't. I feel like it really works better when the Vortex has some nice buffs on handicaps rather than buffs, where you are getting a shield when somebody heals you, which is already a plus, or when they increase the duration of debuffs on the boss and increases the damage dealt by a specific enemy or a specific element against the boss. And then you can, okay, I can drop a support because I already have extra healing from the boss's handicap, and I'm getting extra damage if I bring in another wild hero, for example, you know. So that will sometimes push you over and get you more damage. Sometimes, depending on what handicaps the boss has, you won't be getting more damage. So that's a thing to keep in mind when you are building your Vortex team. So for the moment, this is the team that I'm kind of like sticking with. I'm missing champions like Gillian or Asilia, for example, from the Radiance element, and the Frost doesn't really have that much amazing support unless you get El Sibri, you know. So that's another champion that I'm missing, and it will be pretty hard for me to kind of like have a team of this caliber with this sort of support by making a 5-man Elemental Affinity. And I feel like I'm not the only one in this case, considering that I already have a pretty well-developed account compared to other people out there that are free-to-play, low spenders, or people that recently started playing. And this is for every single season, guys, based on whatever Elemental Affinities you guys have available in your own season, you know, season 1 or season 2, because they are different. This advice is for everybody. It's not just for season 2 players, because a lot of us will be in this situation. It's true. Once you really max your 5-man Elemental Affinity, you really need to look into it to try and get the team up and running, because you are losing a lot of damage. And I feel like with the right mechanics in your team, combining the right champions, bringing the right skills, debuffs, and buffs on your team, it should, in most of the cases, perform a bit better than the 5-man Elemental Affinity, unless you have a perfect team from those 2 elements, you know? So keep that in mind. That's kind of like the main thing that I wanted to point out in today's video. I kind of like wanted to make you a bit more aware of the whole situation, that mechanics are very important. most of the times more important than the 5-man elemental affinity bonuses, you know? And let me just quickly explain you how my team works, for example. So Reita is a champion that she's actually very unique. She can extend the duration of debuffs on the enemy by 5 seconds. She cleanses and she brings increased defense. And she has an amazing passive which will actually bring you a damage reduction at 3% if I'm not mistaken for each debuff on the enemy. How you may notice, we actually have this sweet dread on the boss, which is a minus 6%. So that's the damage dealt. I'm not 100% sure if it's for the entire team. I would assume it's for the entire team, not just for Reita, because that's the way it works, if I'm not mistaken. And she is basically cleansing, giving me increased defense, a bit of damage reduction from the passive, and at the same time, she's increasing the duration of debuffs. So that's why I have everything timed perfectly to increase the duration of defense down on the boss, to increase the duration of decrease attack on the boss, which will enable me to deal more damage, because instead of having the defense down on the boss for 10 seconds, I have it for 15. Instead of having the decrease attack down for 10 seconds, I have it for 15. And on top of it, Reita with the battle skill actually lands decrease attack as well, which is hard to time. Most of the times it will happen for her to land the decrease attack at the same time when I already have decrease attack, and it won't get replaced. So it's kind of like not really helping as much as you might think. So it's not going to be up for 20 seconds of the rotation all the time, you know. Every now and then it will happen when it will cover the entire cycle. So that's a very, very helpful champion. It's going to be very, very hard for me to replace her without having Gillian, for example, you know, from the Radiance element. Then I have Frorbart, decrease attack and healing, right? Like, he's such a massive powerhouse. And it's going to be very hard for me to replace him as well, to bring in a different decrease attack champion from the Radiance element that can fit in his shoes, basically. You know, like, who can do it? Nobody can really do what he does. So the best option that I would potentially have is Vinyara. I need to scroll my Vinyara, which is from the Frost element. And with her in the team, I might be able to give her the Rift Hourglass and make her put decrease attack on the boss twice in 20 seconds. And like that, I'll keep decrease attack for the entire duration of the cycle. But that will be something very hard. I will need a lot of skill haste on her to make it work. And I won't be getting any healing. So that healing needs to get replaced. So again, that brings me back to Gillian. If I have Gillian, I can replace Reita and Frorbart with Vinyara and Gillian. But that's very, very hard to organize, you know, and still keep my damage dealers. Garius, he's the main tank in here. He actually gets hit by the single hit from the boss, which is the second skill right here. And the reason why I have him to do that is because he will have that defense up, you know. And for whatever reason, seems like I changed some gear on my Frorbart, my bad, and seems like he's getting the hit. Usually is Garius that is getting that extra hit because he has the increased defense on himself. So he's tankier. Usually he should be surviving more than Frorbart does, you know. So that should be a bit of a game changer. Maybe this time around my team won't be doing as good. Now at the same time, I timed my Reita to put the defense up at 21.5 seconds, which is right before the boss uses the AoE animation of the last skill right here. Is a bit delayed compared to the timing of the cycle. And that ensures that I have defense up before the boss uses this skill. And even if my Frorbart gets hit, you see I still have that defense up, which will help him to stay alive a bit longer than usual. So timing everything is key as well to have a very successful Vortex team, guys, that will allow you to unlock difficulty 4 or unlock difficulty 3 or 2, depending on where you are right now in the game and in the season and whatever Vortex difficulty you are doing at the moment. These tips will work for everyone. It's basically a guide on how to build your team. And I know when you don't have only epics and rare champions available, it will be a bit harder for you to kind of like find the right synergy and find the characters that will bring so many different things to the team. There are quite a few awesome epics and rares in the game. So because I don't have Gillian, for example, on my account, I will replace Reita for the 5-man elemental affinity with Catherine, the epic champion. She will not cleanse, she will not give me increased defense, but she will give me debuff immunity. So I will have to time a bit the characters differently. She will give me some healing as well, and defense up on one character only, the one with the lowest HP. Then instead of Flirbart, I will be getting Vinyara. That's still the plan to get the 5-man elemental affinity. But I'll be very honest, the only time when I think that that team will perform better than this is once I'm going to max the last thing of my Psychic Core, when I'm going to get that extra 400% damage from my characters. Till I get to that part, I really don't think that that team will perform better than this. And I will try it in the next one or 2 weeks, because I will build the champions. I just need to get the scrolls for Vinyara, and it will take me a bit longer because I don't have enough gems to purchase them right now. But how you may notice, this damage is actually fairly decent from the team. I'm actually definitely not disappointed whatsoever. It's a 3-man elemental affinity. And yes, a 5-man elemental affinity could potentially bring me that extra 15% damage, which is something that I need to check. I will have to give it a go and see how it will play out. You know, my Flirbart is actually getting pretty low right here, so I'm a bit worried actually. You see Reta, bang, putting that increased defense right before that, increasing the duration of the debuffs on the boss, which will increase my damage delta as well. Flirbart survived a little longer. Awesome stuff. I'm glad to see that. Decrease attack, first hit in. Garius is timed at such a moment to put that healing and shield on the team that helps us to survive longer actually. And we have Gertin with an impressive damage without the 5-man elemental affinity, you know, 16.3 million. So far we are at 26 million damage. Now my gear is not the best gear to go against the Vortex on a difficulty 4. My gear is actually way under level for that, and once I'm gonna get better gear, that's when I'll be ready to move on difficulty 4. I don't think that with this current team at the moment, I will be able to hit the max chest on a difficulty 4, and that's mainly just for the simple fact that I just don't have the gear for it, you know. So once I'm gonna up the gear, I feel like this team can get me to the top chest as well. And here is the result, guys. We survived 8 minutes and 55 seconds, 27.4 million damage. I'm actually really satisfied with the damage. But this is my team right here, and hopefully you found this video helpful, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree with what I said? Do you think the 5-man elemental affinity is more important than mechanics most of the times, or you agree that mechanics play a more important role till you get to max the last piece of your Psychic Core? I'm actually gonna save the damage, and we're gonna call it a day with that. But that was all for this video. Much love, appreciate every single one of you guys watching. Happy New Year again, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.